whole world and global.
Broadcasting live from AFK Newsroom Manila. And this is Christine Tunyakaw, serving you the hottest and the most leading news of the hour. Your news, our business. The fact news. The headlines. Primary source of both Francisco Albo and Antonio Pigafetta about the First Mass. The controversies of the First Mass here in the Philippines.
Where was the first Mass held? Masao or Limasawa? Where was the first kingdom, Masao or Limasawa? The first kingdom visited Magellan in 1521. The site of the first recorded Mass in the Philippines have been subjected of controversy since the Spanish era. In 1872, a Spanish district governor erected a marble monument at Magallanes. Then, the center of Butuan to celebrate Magellan's first arrival in the commemorations of the First Mass. On the other hand, in 1958, the National Historical Commission placed an historical marker at Barrio Magallanes, Masawa Island, commemorating the same event. Today, this site is widely believed by many historians and the government to be Limasawa off the tip of southern Leyte. However, until at least the 19th century, the prevailing belief was that first Mass was held in Butuan. This belief is maintained by some who assert that the first Mass was instead held at Masao, Butuan.
Where is the First Mass in the Philippines is really held?
So where is the first Mass in the Philippines really held? Some historians say that it is in Limasawa on the southern tip of Leyte, and some people say that it is held in Masao, Butuan. At this very moment, these issues is being contested by these people from these two different places, claiming that the first Mass is held in their place. So based on our research, the researchers analyze the two primary sources that historians refer in identifying the site of the first Mass. So there are two primary sources of the first Mass in Masao, Butuan. First account is a Dalagkat by Francisco Albo. So who is Francisco Albo? Francisco Albo is a pilot and one of the Magellan's ship, which is Trinidad. He is one of the 18 survivors who returned with Sebastian Elcano of the ship Victoria after they circumnavigated the world, and considered as an eyewitness of the significant events happened on the first Mass. So in Albo's account, he did not mention the first Mass, but only the planting of the cross upon a mountain top from which could be seen three islands to the west and south. So in addition, the site where Magellan erected a cross with crown was documented by Francisco Albo, who kept an official logbook of the voyage. It was upon a mountain locating Butuan Island at 9 and 1/3 degree north latitude, and later on King Charles referred to this as the proof of his conquest of the Spice Islands. So this is Amy Joy A. Asibal, serving you the leading news of the hour, the fake news.
Primary source of Francisco Albo with Lel Joy Ibanez.
Hey guys, today we will tackle about the Francisco Albo First Mass of Limasawa. So who is Francisco Albo? So Francisco Albo is one of the 18 survivors who returned the Sebastian Elcano and Victoria ship. So Francisco Albo is known as a pilot of Magellan's ship of Trinidad. So, of the expedition or the eyewitness of the particularly of the circumnavigated of Francisco Albo in the day of March 16, 1521, they sailed in a westerly course from the Landrunes. They saw the land towards the northwest, but owing to many shallow places, but they did not approach the found later that was named as the island of Yanugan. So as they went to the island of Yanugan, they went instead in the same day southwards to another small island named Suluan. As they anchored, they saw some canoes, but they fled at the Spaniards approached. This island was found in a 9 2/3 degree north latitude. Departing from those two islands, namely the Yunogan and the Suluan, they sailed westward and an Apetat island of Gada, where they took in a supply of water and wood. The sea is around that island was free from shallow. Albo does not give the latitude of that island, but from the account of Pegafetta, this seems to be the Aguada or Humunon at found in 10 degree north latitude. From island of Gada, the next destination is from the island of the saved westward towards a large island named Silani that was inhabited and was known to have a gold. Ceylani, from the account of Pegafetta, it is called Ceylon. Ceylon was found of the island of Leyte. So sailing southwards along the coast of the large island of Ceylani, they turned southwest a small island called Masava. So that island is also at a latitude of 9 2/3 degrees north. The people of that island of Nasava were very good. These are Spaniards planted across upon the mountain tops, and from there they were shown their island of the west and the southwest, where they were told there was much gold. They shown us how the gold was gathered, which came in a small pieces like peas and the lentils. From the island of Masava, they sailed northwards again toward the Ceylon island, a northwesterly direction, ascending up to 10 degrees of latitude, where they saw 3 small islands. From there sailed was westward some 10 leagues, and there they saw 3 islands, where they dropped anchor of their night. In the morning, they sailed southwest some leagues down to latitude of 10 1/3 degree. They sailed down in the channel of the Torn westward and anchored to the town of La Vella of Subu Island. Subu, where they stayed many days and obtained the provision and entered into a peace pact with the local king. The town of Subu was in the east-west direction. On the island of Subuan and Masava, there were so many shallow that the boats could not go to westward directly but has to go in a roundabout way. It must be noted that in the Albo's account, the location of Masava Island fits the location island of Limasawa, southern tip of Leyte. So that's all for today.
First voyage of Magellan.
Primary source: Primo Viago en Torno al Mundo, or The First Voyage Around the World by Antonio Pigafetta, translated by Lord Stanley of Alderley. Antonio Pigafetta was a famous Italian traveler who studied navigation and known by the name of Antonio Lombardo or Francisco Antonio Pigafetta. He was born into a wealthy Vicenza family and studied navigation. Pigafetta served on board the galleys of the Knights of the Rose and accompanied the Papal Nuncio, Monsignor Cherigati, to Spain, Pigafetta being in Barcelona in 1519. He heard about Magellan's expedition and being wishful to learn about the world, he asked for and obtained the permission to join the voyage. Pigafetta was one of the 18 survivors who returned to Spain aboard the Victoria, and therefore considered as an eyewitness of the significant events happened on the first Mass, which Magellan names it the islands of St. Lazarus that is later called the Philippine archipelago. On September 8, 1522, the crew of the Victoria cast anchor in the waters off of Seville, Spain, having just completed the first circumnavigation of the world, the journal of Ferdinand Magellan's voyage around the world in 1522, written by Antonio Pigafetta and was produced in Seville, Spain. Magellan's route represents the confirmation of the Earth's roundness is at the origins of the concept of globalism and universality of knowledge. The distance from Butuan City to Seville, Spain, approximately 12,802 kilometers. Evidence for Masao rather than Limasawa are as follows. The name of the place, the route from Humunhun, the latitude position, and the route to Cebu. The name of the place and all the primary sources, including the diary of Antonio Pigafetta, the chronicler of Magellan's voyage. The name of the place was 3 syllables, which is Masao was really close to it. Limasawa has 4 syllables and begins with another letter. However, in manuscript, there is no word Limasawa. The route from Humunhun. According to the primary records, again, the expedition traveled 20 to 25 leagues from Humunhun, their first landing point, to the site of the first mass, taking a west-southwest course. If they had been in Limasawa Island, the distance is only about 14.6 leagues, or none half of that length. Moreover, the island of Limasawa is blocked from Humunhun by the tip of the southern latitude. The latitude position. Some of the primary sources locate the place at 90 north latitude and others at 9 2/3 degrees. The latitude position eliminates Limasawa because it is closer of Masao Butuan. It is exactly at 9 degrees. Limasawa 9 degrees 55 inch. Latitude was very far north of the 9 1/3 degree north latitude. The route to Cebu. The route to Cebu taken by the explorer is almost exactly similar to the one now taken by motor vessels from Cebu to Butuan. The king of Masao, which is Colombo, even guided the explorers to Cebu and acted as their interpreter and peacemaker when they met the Cebu. And the distance to Cebu, according to Pigafetta, was 35 leagues or 140 miles. If it were Limasawa that they came, the distance would only be 80 miles or only half of the alleged distance traveled. The geographical features. The following physical features of the first kingdom point to Butuan rather than Limasawa as follows. The bonfire. The explorers attracted to the light present the night before they came to shore. Now the name Masao in Butuanan precisely means bright, which could refer to the local custom of celebrating a harvest by cooking rice flakes in open fires. By contrast, there are no rice fields in Lima. The Balanghay, which was prominent feature of the story of their stay in the First Kingdom. It was said that the king came to their ship in Balanghay, and Pigafetta and his companion attended a party in a ritual of Balanghay with the local king. Butuan now is the site of at least 9 excavated relics. By contrast, Limasawa has no significant archaeological relics or Balanghay tradition. Abundance of gold. The Western explorers got excited at the abundance of gold in Masao and Butuan, for that was the main currency at the time. Both archaeological relics and gold mines today attested to the abundance of gold in the Agusan Valley. However, there is no gold in Limasawa. The ships fired all their artillery at once when the body of Christ elevated, the signal having been from the shore of Muscat. And lastly, in Butuan, there was a group called Fox of Magallanes that celebrated the Easter Mass for 300 years until 200 years at the Carvalho Monument. By this formulated and gathered data, we can prove that the first Mass dated and happened on Easter Sunday, March 21, 1521 at Masao. Butuan is clearly the site that the first Mass was held. It's because historians and archaeologists were able to find credible artifacts and visible evidences in Butuan, which the Limasawa southern later did not consider. According to Republic Act No. 2733, the law as well as the government declared that the first Mass was is really held in Masao, Butuan. Even though there is also a law declaring Limasawa as the place where the first Mass held, there is a possibility that they only want to detour us to the truth that Butuan is the real place where it is held, because there's a lot of evidences that leads to the conclusion that the first Mass was held in Masao, Butuan. That's why the researchers recommended that the future researchers should conduct a further research and find additional information to strengthen this claim. Live from Butuan City, this is Jessica Jane Baguio reporting. Primary source of
The most complete and reliable account of Magellan expedition into Philippine shore in 1521 is that of Antonio Fagapeta, which is deemed as the only credible primary source of reports on the celebration of the first Christian Mass in Philippine soil. According to Fagapeta, Mazawa, the site of the first Christian Mass held in Philippine soil, is an island laying off the southwestern tip of Leyte, while Masao is not an island but a barangay of Butuan City located in the delta of Agusan River along the coast of the northern Mindanao. The position of Mazawa is plotted by Pigafetta. The measurement of distance between Homonhon and Limasawa, between Limasawa and Cebu, as computed by Pro Limasawa Group, matches or approximates the delineation made by Pigafetta of the distance between Homonhon and Mazawa and between Mazawa and Cebu. Magellan Split took a route from Homonhon to Mazawa and from Mazawa to Cebu that did not any time touch Butuan or any part of Mindanao. The survivor of the expedition did go to Mindanao later, but this happened after Magellan's death. That affirms Limasawa is the site of the first Christian Mass in the Philippines, based on the evidence of Pigafetta's testimony regarding the route and the evidence of Pigafetta's map. Live from Southern Leyte, this is Kervin Salvador Versales reporting. Back to studio.
Thank you, Mr. Versales. We'll be right back.
Danger excites me, but I can't fully enjoy it when I smell like fear and body odor. So I prepare myself with a manly scent of Old Spice Danger Zone. Because even if something bad does happen to a Danger Zone man, it won't smell like something bad happened. Because the secret to smelling well is... And when you smell like Old Spice Danger Zone, trust me, you'll smell like you have nothing to worry about.
You smell like you look amazing.
Amazing, I know.
Introducing Old Spice Danger Zone with all-day odor protection.
And there's your beautiful baby.
Any day now.
Really? You're eating Doritos? He's eating Doritos on my ultrasound. Do you see what I have to do?
I know.
Give me that.
And we're back. Next, we'll talk about the controversies in Limasawa.
So here are some controversies of the Limasawa Island where the first Mass in the Philippines was held. So one of this is that the first Holy Mass was celebrated now not in the Visayas but in Mindanao because of that historical event something. That first step to taking history in a territory in the name of God and King, occurred not in Limasaw, which is part of the Visayas, but in Butuan daw. It is part in the northern Mindanao. So here are the one contention is that the historical accuracy regarding the country's first Catholic Mass celebration is not only to be settled based on location but also on when it is exactly occurred. So the Maharis panel addressed the debate was specifying that the historical occasion that occurred in Limasaw Island be known as the first Easter Sunday Mass, thereby distinguishing it from prior masses that were conducted by the Spaniards on board their ships sailing through the sea surrounding summer, and the earlier mass supposedly held in Bolinao, Pangasinan in the year 1324. So it is widely believed by many historians and the government that the Limasaw Island is not part of something first mass of the Philippines. But however, until at least the 19th century, the prevailing belief was that the first mass was held in Butuan, which is part of the northern Mindanao. So this belief is maintained by some who assert that the first mass was instead held at Masao, Butuan. So to end the conflict for this issue about the first mass, so the National Historical Commission of the Philippines, which is the NHCP, panel adopted the recommendation and agreed that the evidence and arguments presented by the pro-Butuan advocates are not sufficient and convincing enough to warrant the repeal or reversal of the ruling on the case by the National Historical Institute. So it is further strengthened by the evidence that it was only after 22 years in 1543 when a Spanish expedition led by Roy Lopez de Villalobos landed in Mindanao. So this means that on March 31, 1521, Easter Sunday, were the first Mass of the Philippines held in the Limasaw Island. It was conducted by the Father Pedro D. Villaderrama of Ferdinand Magellan's expedition along the shores of what was referred to in the journals of Antonio Pigafetta as "This is Lamer Sauce serving you the leading news of the hour, the Fat News."
My topic is historical controversies. So, these are the controversies along the historical accuracy regarding the country's first mass celebration. So, the first place is Bolinao. Odoric of Pordenone, he is an Italian and Franciscan friar and missionary explorer, is hardly believed by many Pangasinenses to have celebrated the first Mass in Pangasinan in around 1324 that would have predated the Mass held in 1521 by Ferdinand Magellan. A marker in front of Bolinao Church states that the first Mass on Philippine soil was celebrated in Bolinao Bay in 1324 by a Franciscan missionary, Blessed Odorico. However, there is scholarly doubt that Odoric wasn't ever at the Philippines. Ultimately, the National Historical Institute, led by its chair Ambeth Ocampo, recognized the historical records of Limasawa in southern Leyte as the venue of the first Mass held on March 31, 1521. Next controversial place is Humunhun. A position paper submitted by the Chancellor of the Diocese of Burungan to the National Historical Commission of the Philippines, NHCP, stated that Magellan expedition reached the shores of Humunhun on March 16, 1521 and remained for 8 days, which coincided 2 Sundays and the Holy Week. So, the paper's assertion claimed that by deducing from the timing of their arrival on the liturgical calendar in use in 1521, there were no less than 4 masses, including the Palm Sunday Mass on their last day on the island, held in Humunhun before the expedition made their voyage to Limasawa Island. Historians, however, remained in disagreement whether such religious celebrations, which were said to have been held as thanksgiving for the expedition's safe passage or to observe the beginning of Holy Week, did occur. So, again, this is Angelita M. Troyo serving you the leading news of the hour, the fact news. Back to the studio.
Controversies in Butuan.
The controversy on the issues on where was the first Mass happened. First Mass Catholic Mass in the Philippines was on Easter Sunday of March 31, 1521, officiated by Father Pedro D. Valderrama. National Historical Institute or NHI has studied his claim and already concluded where the first Mass happened. They repeated in 1966 regarding Dilemmas Wala that occurred that first Mass for it is the Masawa. Furthermore, this was confirmed by the Gancay-Co Commission in May 1996. The early account made in the first supplying available writings and a tradition reported the first Mass on being held in Butuan. The 1734 Morelio Velarde map, for example, indicates the first land sighting of Siargao from where the expedition headed north of Binagat in Limasawa, then the south of Butuan, back north to Limasawa from where they sailed along the west coast by the Leyte, the Camotes Island, and down to Sugbo and Mactan. In 1872, a marker was raised in Agusan at the place where the first Mass was believed to have been held, with changes in place names in the course of Agusan River. The marker location is now in the town of Magallanes across the river from Butuan City. Historical thinking began to shift in the early 90s with the ability to more primary sources, datability, account of Antonio Figapita, Francisco Albo, and other expedition members, as well as record the interview of Magellan expedition survivors. The first Holy Mass was celebrated not in Visayas but in Mindanao because the historical event, the first step of taking territory in the name of God and King, occurred not in Limasawa, which is part of Visayas, but in Butuan, situated in northern Mindanao. April 16, the first ever Easter Mass in the Philippines, a landmark in the history of the Philippine Christianity, was held in 1521 on the island of Masao, known today as Limasawa Island, Leyte. This was the conclusion of Dr. Antonio Sanchez de Mora, an expert in Spanish history and head of the reference service of Archivo General de Indias in Seville, Spain. After combing over sources in the archive pertinent of the initial encounter in the first Mass celebrated in the island called Masawa and comparing them with other sources. This is Christine Gerald Cantara serving you the leading news of the hour.
On March 31, 1521, on Easter Sunday, Magellan ordered a Mass to be celebrated, which was officiated by Father Pedro Valderrama. The Andalusian chaplain of the fleet, the only priest then, conducted near the shore of the island. The first Holy Mass marked the birth of Roman Catholicism in the Philippines. Ferdinand Magellan Limasawa is historic in that the first Christian Mass in the Far East was celebrated in the island on March 31, 1521. In 1994, President Fidel V. Ramos approved Republic Act No. 7822 declaring Limasawa as a tourist zone in 1994. This is Leslie Grace Anda serving you the leading news of the hour, the fact news.
This is Mary Fegler Tabakita serving you the hottest and the most leading news of the hour, your news, our business, the fact news.
Today, again, this is Christine Tunyakaw, the fact